introduction. Hello, welcome to this episode of Rounders Reconnect, and this is a new format we haven't done before. We don't know how it's going to go. We don't know what we're going to actually get from it, apart from we have 4 amazing people here who have been involved in Rounders for decades and have such a wealth of experience right from the start. But also lots of memorabilia and memories and lots of things happening. So we've decided to get them all on at once, find out a bit more about their involvement in Rounders and get them just to share their history and their memories of Rounders. So welcome all of you.
Yeah, hello.
So Sylvia, let's start with you. Apparently you're the first. You're the first with that history. Okay. So tell us a bit how you got involved with Rounders and your first memories.
Yeah, I've always liked the sport because from junior school, that's when I first played and realised, wow, I want to do this for a long, long time. Right? And so then probably at the senior school, I got chosen to play Rounders, stuff like that. It was really exciting. Only thing was the season was never long enough in those days. So after that, all came about, and I saw an advert in the paper, the local paper, asking for Rounders players who were interested in forming a team or just practicing every one night every week. So just went down to the local park, and that's basically how it all started.
Oh wow!
What year was that, Sylvie?
Well,
roughly?
Probably, gosh, I'd be about
78.
That's about 1978.
Yeah.
Oh, fabulous! And was that a mixed team or was it an all female team?
Just ladies at that time, but the age group started at 14 years old, so anybody.
Yeah.
And that went on for a couple of years. And I remember our first match. We had to go to what's it called in Uppingham Road?
Tilton on the Hill.
Tilton on the Hill. So we played our first official match, just a friendly, and did that, and we won. I remember getting the Rounders, and we were struggling a bit, but we won in the end. And that involved us with finding out where we could find the league to join. And behold, there was one at Market Harborough. So our name was called ourselves Victorville, and we joined a league in Market Harborough for, I think it was there for about 6 years. Who was the umpire there?
I don't know really. It was,
Malcolm. So from there, that's basically how we got the ladies' league started, because we thought, well, we'd still not, wasn't getting enough matches, so we decided to form the Leicester Ladies League, and again advertising who would like to join us, and it just improved on there. It went back.
Went absolutely well. So is that how you and Sylvia met then? In that ladies' league? No. Oh, that's another story. So we'll come back to that.
It absolutely is, actually.
Well, we married in '69. So really, my involvement really was when just supporting Syl. When the Leicestershire Ladies Rounders League was formed, they played once a week. At one stage, we had something like 3 divisions of maybe 4 divisions, maybe with 7 or 8 teams in it. So we were out quite a lot of nights, silver night, with the family, with our 2 daughters. In fact, our daughters grew up with the Rounders fraternity, and they still today have many, many, many friends that they met and played with while we were playing Rounders or whatever. But yeah, it was really, we just went from strength to strength in Leicestershire. But my involvement was at the beginning just supporting Sylvia.
Right. So is that, sorry, is that how Sheila and you and Sylvia met then? Was in that ladies' league? Was that your first?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it all links. I didn't join in until 1983 when I started being involved with Rounders. I mean, do you want to link into that now, June?
Yeah, I think that'd be really interesting.
And I've just Syl's got a fabulous picture of the ladies in 1979,
Oh, fabulous.
how they looked. So I think she's going to hunt that out.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
in one of the folders that we had.
Yeah.
I came to Leicester in 1981 as a PE teacher, and I met, who turned out to be a really good mate, Sharon Cobb, Sharon Buckley as she was then, and she played for Little Hill for the team, and she was a PE teacher at another school, and we played basketball together, and she said,
Oh, wow,
look,
there's
you
the
know,
team, look.
I'm,
Oh,
yeah,
fabulous.
yeah. Can you see that? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I can. Wow.
So that's Syl's first Little Hill team.
Yes.
Yeah.
In 1979.
Wow.
No, 78, sorry.
78. Fabulous.
And then the league was formed in 79.
Yeah.
And yeah, and when I got involved, there were, as Pod said, there were 4 divisions of ladies teams, and then I think probably the mixed league had maybe just been formed.
Yes, yeah.
As a result, I think, of all the ladies who played, their husbands wanted to play as well, and the kids wanted to play. I mean, it snowballed. It was fantastic.
So is that how you got more involved? Obviously, Sylvia starting up, and then is that how you got more involved, Pod?
Yes, very much so. I mean, we, like I said, we followed the team around Little Hill to every game. I actually got banned from the game because I was too excited and too loud. And Radio Leicester came up to talk to me one day saying, "Why have you been banned?" Anyway, that's another story. But then I was asked by the Ladies' League if I would form a Leicestershire representative side, which we did. It was a Leicestershire county side, really. But our problem was, who do we play? So I found out that there was quite a strong league in Sheffield. So we were asked to go over to Sheffield and play the Sheffield side with the Leicestershire reps. And we played the game and we got beat quite convincingly. And Terry Woolhouse, who was involved with the National Rounders Association for a long time, actually came up to me after the game and said, "I don't know whether you realise or not, but eight of those 9 girls that just played are England players."
Oh, wow.
And I said, "Well, I didn't even know at that time that there was an England team."
Yeah, yeah.
I said, "But I tell you what, give me 5 or 6 weeks and I'll invite you back to Leicester and we'll play a game," which we did. And we beat them convincingly. And we just went from strength to strength. And then running the county side, that carried on for a couple of years, and we were going all over the country playing. Played people like the Army and people like that. And my wife was selected to play for England, who the then manager was a guy called Chris Thatcher. And she was selected, so we obviously carried on our travels around with the England team as far as it went. And then after about 3 or 4 years of still playing for England, Chris Thatcher rang me and said he was retiring. Would I be interested in taking the England job on? Well, it was a dream, really. So I did take the job on. Rounders was so strong all over the country at that time.
Was this the 1980s, 1990s?
It would have been 1979, I think, or probably about 80, because what I was going to go on to say was that we were invited by the Softball Federation to go and play rounders in America, which was absolutely unbelievable. So we spent months and months and months fundraising, and the England team literally came from all over the country. And we had 2 weeks in America. We made such an impact that we did the tour one way, and they asked us if we'd still got 5 or 6 days left, if we'd do the tour back again and play. We played in Clearwater, Orlando, and the mayor of the city greeted us and gave us all keys to the city. There was 5 or 6 cable television stations fighting for coverage.
Wow.
But the sad thing was, we wanted to invite the American girls back to the UK, but 90% of the girls were trying to fly in. So it didn't happen. The publicity we would have got from that would have been phenomenal. But
Wow.
yeah, I mean, that was, suppose, the highlight for me as England team manager.
Wow. And Sylvia, was that the kit that you wore that you've just been displaying?
It was. Yes.
Wow. How
Yeah.
fabulous. And do you have any of the coverage on, it'll be video, won't it? The past sort of coverage and things of that.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. But I bet we can get hold of it. It's worth holding on to it and just trying to see if we can find it, isn't it? So
Yeah.
wow, that is awesome. So Kevin, you've been very quiet so far.
Yeah.
Tell us more. How did you get involved? And
Well, I suppose, like Pod, I began as a male rounders groupie. I never got banned.
No.
I'm not as excited as Pod, but Sheila and I are retired teachers, so our background in sport of playing and learning to coach or umpire and then running teams made it a natural move for us when we came to rounds. So Sheila started playing for Little Hill not all that long after she came to Leicester and started teaching at a local school. And the Little Hill ladies were not shy in coming forward. So when they noticed that I'd been to watch a few games, one of them said, "You might as well do something useful for us while you're here. Take this and sign up to become an umpire." So I did.
And I think Pod was a tester umpire.
Yes.
So Pod was already a qualified umpiring tester. And another big friend of ours, Mick Eiley, who had been chairman of the NRA for some years, he was also a tester. So he sort of pushed Kev and I both into becoming umpires as well. And then Kev became a tester. And to be honest, Julia, if Kev and I hadn't then decided to play mixed rounders together, we'd probably not have seen each other at a weekend, because I played hockey and he played football. And it was like, ships passing in the night. So when I started playing rounders and Kev suddenly realised that actually there's a mixed league and it's played properly, and these people, these men who play rounders they're not shilly-shallying, they're playing really, really tough, hard game. He was in there. So then we started playing mixed rounders together. We were rivals then, because Pod and Sil played in one team and we played in another. So we were never very successful, really. Pod and Sil's team, Kelly's, was enormously successful.
Yeah, I think if you made a comparison, the team that were called Kelly's that Pod and Sil played for were Manchester City. And the team that we played for, called Signet Signs, were Burnley.
Yeah.
We were a
yo-yo
team.
Yeah, but it was through that involvement that obviously more and more men were coming to watch the ladies game.
Mm-hmm.
And it was mentioned one night over a couple of pints of beer, why don't we start a mixed league? And that's what we did. I think it was about 1983, 84. Yeah, 83. So I became chairman of the mixed league as well. And again, that just went from strength to strength. I mean, we literally went all over the country playing. I mean, one of the most memorable games when we played against Nalgo, I think it was a Sheffield side, and they had a guy called Dave Butler and another guy called Uriah Rennie, who became a Premier League referee. They had their bowling timed at Sheffield University. Dave Butler, I think, was 89 mile an hour.
Wow.
Uriah Rennie was just slightly above that. That's all on record, I'm sure, somewhere. These tests were done. But I always maintain that the mixed league made the ladies much, much stronger, because they're facing that type of bowling, for one thing. And I say both leagues for a long time just went from strength to strength.
Yeah. So how
Yeah, I
many
mean,
did you have in the mixed league eventually?
I think there were
There were
two
was
or
it
three
three?
divisions.
Certainly two divisions. There would have been
Probably 20.
20 teams getting on for, yeah.
All over
And
Leicestershire.
it literally, like I said, everybody took their family with them.
Yeah.
Especially for mixed league games,
It's
because
Sunday.
it was on a Sunday afternoon. And we played at different venues again, all over Leicester and Leicestershire. And our kids literally grew up with about 20 other kids whose parents were playing rounders.
So they wanted.
I'm just going to say I can see what's coming next.
Pod and Syl's daughters, Claire and Sharon, they often say to us, we learn how to sit in the car with a bag of crisps and a bottle of pop, because after the games, the parents would go into a pub or go into the clubhouse. But everybody had their families there. Everybody. And I think one of the sad things is that it wasn't sustainable. It didn't carry on. Other things must have, I don't know, got in the way or whatever. But beyond the late 90s, it just fizzled out, the mixed league. And then the ladies league in Leicester has gone, it's tiny now. There's only about half a dozen teams.
So were you playing on a Sunday then? So is that what you see? Did I hear you right? The mix was on the Sunday, so it was a real family, as you say, wasn't it? And
what we did in the
later
years. Sorry, what we did in the later years was we played all our games at one pitch. We had a rugby club where everybody could play. So all the children from all the parents were involved. They were all playing together, and it was amazing. I mean, my daughter's 53 now, 51, and they still talk about times they had with the kids playing rounders.
Yeah.
Some of those young kids, Julia, became fabulous players themselves, obviously, because they just had it in them from being tiny. And I know it's an aspiration of Rounders England to bring back mixed play, and it would be fabulous. And just to put some numbers on it, if we had, say, 20 teams at that peak, that would have involved 15 players ish in each squad. So that's 300 adults mixed playing in Leicester alone. In the summer holidays, you could nearly choose any Sunday and go somewhere in the country and play rounders all day with the kids tagging along. And they're bringing that back these days, mostly through taking rounders to higher education. And that is a mixed player format, and it's coming on really well. So there might be a way of going back to what we had.
Well, it sounds like it was just a fabulous community.
It was like being part of a massive family. I mean, loads of them used to go on big mass summer holidays together.
Yeah.
There'd be 30 of them go off to, I don't know, Mallorca or somewhere. Yeah. It was like being part of a big family. But one of the other things, I mean, I'm just going to go a little bit away from the adult rounders now, because one of my biggest not achievements, but proud moments, is bringing proper rounders, as we like to call it, to the school that I started working at in Leicester. I mean, loads and loads of people still regarded rounders as that little game you played at junior school, and that you can play on the beach or in the park with a few jumpers. It's a nice, friendly game, but it wasn't taken seriously. And when I started working at my school at Judge Meadow in Leicester, and introduced it into the school through knowing the teachers who played with Little Hill, it was like a revelation. Suddenly you had rounders being played like, and I'm going to put it like cricket, because cricket was taken really seriously at my school, really seriously. And suddenly we had boys joining in as well, and they were playing really seriously. And I think in 1983, I took a senior an under-16 mixed team up to a national competition. I knew nothing about national competitions. It was in Sheffield. They'd been running them for a while. And I had a fantastic team. And they won the competition. And from there, my school suddenly realised that actually rounders was a sport that you can be successful in, and you know, get up on the honours board alongside football and cricket and basketball and whatever else your school played. Suddenly we've got success in rounders, and Kev got involved with that as well. So
Yes,
I'm going to.
I'll just have a little anecdote whereby towards the end of the 80s, we were breaking boundaries at Judge Meadow School, because generally the girls were taught by the female PE teachers and they had a programme, and the boys by the male PE teachers. And of course, rounders at national level was a mixed game. So they put the boys and girls together at different age groups. Towards the end of the summer term, I was asked along to become the coach ready for the national tournament. And I was there for practice after school one evening, and the head, who I better leave upon at this stage, came marching out in his lieutenant colonel's uniform to go and take cadets down at the boys' opening, and saw one of his
Shining stars.
Shining star, who was a year 11 boy, going to play rounders with the girls. So he shouted to him, "King, what on earth are you doing? Not with that, like, you should be over here learning to drill." Well, I'm going to practice rounders, so I like it. About a week later, that group of kids had won the National Cup. And of course, that head was all over the publicity opportunity, and what a wonderful school we were for putting boys and girls together and playing sport.
What a lovely antidote, and really of the social history at the time, wasn't it? Of girls and boys did things separately, and what a lovely way to bring them together.
Yeah, and we were actually finding at school level, the boys chose to play rounders rather than play cricket, because you could be in the cricket team, and if you're a low order batsman and out in the field, you spend all afternoon not touching the ball. But with rounders, they were all more involved. So a lot of boys chose to play rounders instead of cricket. You know, I mean, I know they've got more opportunities now with rugby and football and everything that goes on. You know, the different categories that they can play in school. But yeah, that's one of the reasons, you know, that the boys got more involved, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, also around about that time in the late 80s, I think that's when rounders was accepted.
Yes,
first accepted into GCSE curriculum.
Yeah.
And that suddenly opened doors for loads and loads of youngsters, boys and girls, from different backgrounds as well, to actually choose a sport that they were familiar with. Because at that time, cricket was still not, it wasn't something that regular kids played on a, you know, at a high level. It was out of their reach, really. And as a summer sport, softball wasn't, you know, people didn't know much about softball and what have you. So rounders opened a lot of doors for a summer activity, but that went on to the GCSE curriculum. And it's one of the sad things, and one of the things that I know the current Rounders England office are trying to get back. You know, it was dropped a few years ago when the GCSE syllabuses were consolidated, I think is the only word to say. And rounders was one of the many sports that was dumped in favour of things like equestrian and skiing, those highly accessible sports, you know, that every child can reach.
And every parent can afford.
Yeah. So that's one of our bears that
yeah, I understand that. You saw my eyes raise. I'm not supposed to show any emotion, but my eyes rose.
I know.
Well,
I know.
I mean, the girls now play soccer rather than cricket or rounders and stuff like that, because the success of the England ladies football team. You know.
Oh yeah, I think there's lots of social things that have affected young people taking up a sport like rounders. There's loads more cricket for girls now, accessible cricket. The netball team have had success in an all-female sport. The football, the rugby. I mean, there's lots of competition for sporty girls now. You know, they've got a lot of choices to make.
But I do think, and I think you've really typified Rounders as I've been sort of involved with it, and also my involvement as a young girl. You know, I loved sport, but wasn't particularly good at any sport. But I got in the Rounders team because it was inclusive. You know, in fact, I was made captain, goodness knows why, because I wasn't very excelling. But anyway, I have leadership skills, I think. And I really enjoyed you know, I didn't get in any other teams, but I got in the Rounders team because it was so inclusive and involved, and really enjoyed that sort of social aspect of it all. Which was pretty, and that's Rounders, isn't it? Particularly in sort of the 80s, 90s, from what you're describing.
Oh, very much.
But that's not unique. It's because a lot of kids who don't excel at any other sport found themselves really doing well in Rounders. That's why it became so strong, I think, in certain areas. And it's I don't understand why it's not still that way, because we just literally got involved through a note in the post office window that Syl actually got involved in Rounders, and it just took off. But we're not unique. It was so strong. St Helens, Sheffield, Kettering, you know, the areas that we travelled around in. But most weekends during the summer, we as a family would be away somewhere playing Rounders.
And from what you're saying, all very involved as coaches and umpires, not just as players, but also further than that, about helping others get involved as well, from what you're saying.
I mean, I was on the NRA committee, obviously, because it was a selected job as England team manager. So I travelled to London to the NRA meetings 3 or 4 times a year. So it was our lives. I mean, our kids still say today, you know, they were brought up as Rounders kids, you know. So,
I think the draw that is Rounders is, we would all say the same. I started saying I needed to pull back on my commitment to Rounders about 12 years ago.
You're still doing it.
The calendar is still full of events to go to.
You're still trying to pull back.
Yeah. You, on one of your prompt questions, it says, what roles have you been involved in? And when I sat and thought about that, I mean, it started as player. No, it started as teacher, then it went player, briefly coach, then umpire, still doing it, then committee member, then organising the Leicester Schools Rounders, then being a selector, then doing a bit of PE moderation. And I thought, blimey. And it's not until you think about it and write it down, I thought, I've done quite a lot, really. And I'm still doing it. Like, we definitely said, we've both been retired about, I don't know, a dozen years or so now. And we both said, well, you know, we're retired now. We can give more time to the umpiring and the selecting and what have you. But we need younger people to come on board. So we've tried to take a step back, but there aren't that many. No, but there are some younger people coming on board now, and we will be able to take a proper step back soon.
But it was the same with the leagues. We knew we had to attract younger players because the original players were getting older, but there wasn't the new people coming in, the younger people at all. And I don't, obviously lives have changed, and the sooner stay at home and play on the game machines or whatever. But I can't get my head around why at that particular time Rounders just seemed to explode all over the country.
It did, didn't it?
It did.
So, Sylvia, and your different roles, did you find yourself picking up all different roles as well?
I didn't sort of go down that particular line. When asked to, yes, I would umpire, stuff like that. But my biggest achievement was playing for England and travelling to America.
Wow.
And to do that, we had to pay ourselves. And so all the guys running around, we got car washes, we did theatre with weeks on and
Marathon.
a marathon.
So how much
Yeah.
did you
So
have to
that was-
fundraise?
Yes.
Yeah, I said
really good.
there was 5 of us running the Birmingham Fun Run, just to raise money for the trip to
England
America.
tour.
Yeah.
Wow.
And whereabouts
was-
in America did you end up? Tell us a bit
Well,
more about that
Orlando.
and your memories of it.
Tampa, Clearwater, Orlando.
Everywhere.
Fabulous.
I mean, when we arrived in Tampa at the hotel, the phone never stopped ringing. Bear in mind, there was no mobile phones then. The hotel staff then, excuse me, sir, you've got to tell it. And it was all different newspapers and people that wanted to come down and interview the girls. The publicity was unbelievable. And that's what I said. It's such a shame that we couldn't get the Americans to come back to the UK, because that would have created an enormous amount of publicity for the game of rounders. But
Yeah.
not to be.
And what's your memories of it, Sylvia?
Oh, which part?
Of the America trip?
Oh, well, the memories was that all the girls decided to go into the pool, and we were sitting around the pool, just
This is
enjoying
at 12 o'clock
ourselves,
at night,
and
Julia.
we
Oh,
heard,
he's dobbing you in, isn't he?
Get back in here. You've got a match tomorrow. Come on. And it was the boss. And also, I got told off to swap t-shirt.
Oh, yes, that was the other thing. After a game, after one of the big games we had, it was sponsored by a pizza bar. So we were invited back to the pizza bar. And there was a big horseshoe table all the way around the bar. And they all decided to swap shirts, but we'd only got 2 sets of shirts anyway.
Get them back.
I said, you can't do it. We haven't got any shirts to play tomorrow. It was, yeah, but it was good.
Fantastic.
And how long were you touring for then?
Nearly 3 weeks.
Yeah, wow.
It was on the, I mean, they took it really seriously. I mean, we turned up at stadiums where they'd play both national anthems, and there'd be decent crowd watching as well. It was phenomenal, really, because the Americans stole the game of rounders in 18 something or other, and turned it into softball and baseball.
Yeah, I've heard that throughout these interviews. They can't leave it alone, can they?
No, absolutely. But the girls, they couldn't believe we played a game like rounders with such a hard ball and didn't wear a glove.
Yeah. No,
Oh, really? Yeah. I mean, I'm rugby league, so they couldn't believe we used to tackle without padding.
Yeah.
With their American football.
Wow.
So it's a similar sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, Julia, these guys started when in rounders the backstop could take the ball if the batter missed the bowler's delivery, and then run after the batter and tap them on the back.
Oh, that was my era.
Did you do that, Julia?
Yeah.
There was a lady who played for a
Oh
rival
wow,
team.
she's come with the balls now.
It was a baseball.
Fabulous.
Yeah, there was a lady
Yeah.
who played in our local league. She was
the
biggest opposition to Little Hill, really. And she was almost on top of the batsman when she took the ball, and before she's touched them on the bat before they got out of the batting square.
Oh wow.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah, but she wasn't very gentle with touching.
No.
There was a period when you could throw it as well, wasn't there? Am I right in thinking that? Not at, it always was in hand.
Yeah.
Touch. Yeah.
And in fact, as a teacher, I was so relieved when they got rid of that rule.
Yeah.
Because I'd have kids chasing each other around the pitch, trying to whack each other with a hard rounders ball. It was like, oh, health and safety wouldn't have it these days.
They wouldn't, would they?
And also, Pod might correct me, but I think when I first started playing, it was still, you could bowl 3 balls. It was 3 no balls to make a.
Yes, yeah. And there was no half rounders at second post.
Oh no, I was trying to work out when that came in, because when I first started playing, it was definitely still full rounders, and then they introduced this rounders at second post, and some of the old school were very resistant to that. They were like, "Oh, this is this is a big change. This changes everything." But gradually, people understood that it did change, but it made the game much more interesting, because you had to make bigger and more accurate and sharp decisions. So it made the game a lot more attacking, I think.
It made the
Yeah.
dynamic
Yeah.
feeling a lot different,
Yeah.
which was really interesting
Mm.
for the 5 or 6 outfields. But a game that in the old school terms would have been a fascinating game to play in or watch might have finished 2-1.
Mm.
And after the introduction of new rules, it might have finished 14-16.
Yeah. So,
Oh, interesting.
Managing the change was interesting, but it was
Mm.
something that happened for the good of rounds.
Leicester League resisted it. They wouldn't play it for 2 or 3 years after Rounders England or the NRA, I don't know which era it was, had introduced the second post scoring. The Leicester League were very resistant, but there were 1 or 2 of us in the league who said, you know, come on, we've got to move with it. And we can't just be like a dinosaur on one end. And I know there are still leagues like that around the country. I think there's one out towards Manchester way that still play a very odd form of rounders.
Yeah.
It's not the Rounders England form of rounders.
Yeah.
I know people get very possessive of their own little way of doing things. But I was quite pleased when our local league said, yeah, we'll go for the whole thing.
And what I've been uncovering as I've been doing these interviews is how technical and tactical Rounders is. And obviously the law, the rule changes make that happen as well, don't they?
That's what I brought in to the England team, the tactics of the game, how we'd have if the backstop took the ball cleanly, fire it at first, and first would then fire it to third, because the short fielder at third would come inside the post ready to. So it really is, or it can be, a real tactical game.
We tried to when they had the first review about GCSE, we tried to get that fact across, because the GCSE exam boards were saying it's too easy, it's not rigorous enough, it's not technical enough, it's not tactical enough. And we did a lot of work, lots of people did a lot of work to try to show them that actually there's a lot more to it than you know. And it's almost like they had blinkers on, they didn't want to know. So I mean, it's interesting when Kev and I have done a fair bit of corporate umpiring over the years, and they're always interested in events. And we went to an event that was, I think it was a civil service were playing, and they're always, as I say, interesting. It was played at Loughborough University. Now, Loughborough University is one of our foremost sports colleges, would you not say?
Absolutely,
But they had no idea how or where to mark a rounders pitch. They put rounders pitches in the places where you would never put a rounders pitch. There was no room behind. There was no room to the left-handed batter or the right-handed batter. I mean, it was bonkers. I think Kev and a fellow umpire had to go round on the day and remark 2 of the pitches.
Julia, we had the chief organizer on the day asked about the setup, and I said, well, we're about 3 meters away from a wire fence, the other side of which are brambles that suit a jungle, and we're going to lose match balls. And he said, well, I can't do anything about that, just let me know after the first match. So we umpired the first match, and we lost 7 match balls, and he said, we haven't got enough match balls to last the day, we'll have to do something. So my friend Rod and I marked a pitch with bags of flour.
Fabulous.
Because Loughborough University have fantastic fields, but they had very little knowledge around, so we made a pitch for them.
Oh, and then another thing about the technical, more recently, we had an event at Leicester University, which is a favourite venue now for Rounders England events. But they've invested in one of those fantastic robots that you program, and the robot marks the pitches. I don't know if you've come across them at rugby.
Yeah.
You know, it's a fantastic thing. And the first time Kev saw this robot in action, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And the pitches were done in a matter of minutes. Fantastic. And then the second time we go, Kev goes out to do his pitch inspection, and he goes, I'm not sure these are quite right. They're too small. They were perfectly marked, but they were in miniature. It was like you'd done it for a toddler. And because something had gone wrong with the programming of the machine, of the computer, the little robot had gone ahead and marked these wonderful pitches, but they were 2/3 the size. Kev, did you say?
Well, I would say, Julie, we were just standing in a dining room about 4 meters by 3, and the pitch would have been smartly marked on the floor of this dining room.
Yeah.
And the operator of the robot had made 6 pitches. People had come from all over,
Oh no.
and we had about 50 minutes
Yeah,
to get it made properly. And well, we did it.
Yeah.
The robot behaved itself.
I was going to say, bring back the bag of flour.
Can I just add, Julia, that Sylvia, the reason she was so good, because she's left-handed.
Ah,
So
brilliant.
she's hitting the ball furthest away from the point that it's going to be returned to. And the other thing is, she actually played in her 70s for Sheila's team.
Oh,
She did?
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Little Hill.
And still scored rounders.
Do you think that's a
And still scored
record?
rounders. Sorry?
Do you think that's a record? Do you think that's...
Wow.
No, there's a lady at Bosworth.
No, Longslade.
Like that.
Audrey.
What about Kathy Bridges? Kathy
Oh,
Bridges
yeah.
was my
Maybe.
bowler for the England team.
Mm.
She was in her 40s then.
No, she
Wow.
That's in the 80s.
she was involved in
She's
St.
from-
St. Helens
yeah.
League. And she was playing well into, well, I don't know, she might even,
Still with it. Yeah, no.
but in,
Yeah.
well, I don't think Sue Handy plays anymore, but in our local league, there's only, as I say, half a dozen teams left, but Audrey, who used to back stuff alongside, she's in her 70s and she's still playing quite, she's still playing quite regularly. I don't think it's a record. I'm sure that somewhere in the country there'll be people.
Yeah,
who are
someone a
still-
bit older. So there
Yeah.
was, just back to your corporate, the other thing that's come out is how workplaces played rounders as well, sort of in the 60s, 70s, 80s onwards, and how active it was. Did you get, you've said around umpiring some of it, but
I think, I don't think there was so much, but there wasn't so much corporate in Leicester. It was
really strong in Sheffield.
Yeah.
yeah,
They were nearly all the mixed teams were companies in
Yeah.
Sheffield, and they all had great facilities, i.e. the grounds themselves, they all had bars, with great facilities. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why it was so strong in Sheffield. I mean, there was Nalgo, there was...
Well, we used to play at all those grounds, you know, in recent years they've disappeared. Companies don't have the same sports that they used to have. And we used to have a huge one here when British Shoe was an enormous factory, and they had a team, a mixed team and a ladies team. But in Sheffield, I think there were several, not just Nalgo. I mean, we could look back through the records. I do have some annual reports here. 1988.
brilliant. Oh, they'll be so useful in this project because they'll give you such information.
I've just
about
got one
what's
other
where,
funny
how.
story, Julie. We as the England team manager, I was asked. We always played Wales in Rill. This particular year, they asked me if I'd move it to Mid Wales. Can't remember the name of the place.
Oh, there was a
Powys in Mid Wales. So we go on the Friday. I keep the girls all together. We went out on the Saturday morning. We trained, we ran, we did everything. Sunday morning, we turned up at the venue, and it's a massive Welsh company that had gone bust, but they still got the grounds. So I'll go to the gatehouse and I said, "Excuse me, sir." I said, "England ladies rounders team." He said, "Hang on a minute." He said, "Oh yes, boy." Oh, he said, "That's right." He said, "You're on after the Whippets." They've got Whippet race, and when we looked, the grass was about 10 inches high. So we had to then drive all the way to Rill that day to go and play. And we played at Coronation Gardens. I think it was one of my first games.
Yeah.
And they had concrete squares. Batting square and bowling square were concrete. The rest was grass. But yes, that was funny story at the time.
Wow. I could talk to you all day, you four. You have some brilliant stuff, but I'm aware that of time. I'd like you
Yeah.
each, if you've got something to add that you haven't added, that we haven't sort of done in this hour, that you'd like to share with us, that you think, right, and we can do other stuff, because I think your memorabilia and everything else is just going to be so key for the project, and prod so many memories for people of God, goodness me, this happened, and those sort of things. So I don't know, has anyone got some last thoughts to share of memories, of funny moments, of experiences?
I'm looking at my homework sheet.
Good.
I've got a story of mid-Wales to follow on from Pods. So Pods organising the team, and we've gone to where the Welsh Flower Festival was held at a new stadium. I think it might have been Abergavenny. And with no notice whatsoever, Pod said, Kevin, you're going to do a live commentary on the game. Here's my and we need to get on the pitch at absolutely the time, 2:15. So you're going to organise all of that, get the players lined up, and then we get on with the match. You commentate. So I go to see the gatekeeper, and I said, it is about 2:13, and I'm under instruction from the guys up in the playground. Can we get on at 2:15 promptly? And he said, now look, this is a Welsh youth rugby event going on ahead of you. And do you recognise that chap over there who's running the session? I said, yeah, it's JPR Williams.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic Welsh international. So he said, well, around these parts, JPR is God. So when he says it's 2:15, it'll be 2:15. And until then, you stand there.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Oh, I love that. Absolutely love that. Has anyone got anything else?
I can only remember when I was playing I was going to say, I was,
Yeah, I can see you and hear you. It's all right.
I just remember probably my most successful time at first post, and we were playing a mixed rounders game, and Uri Rennie, he hit the ball, and I'm thinking, God, it's going to run so fast by me. He took 2 steps, and he was at my post, but I was there first with the ball. I got him out.
Yay.
Yeah.
Oh, is there pictures? Is there evidence of that?
No.
Well, just one other thing.
Fantastic. What a
The
great
first
claim to
game
fame.
that I ever did as England team manager, we were invited to go to British Airways Sports and Social Club, and the NRA had organised a national tournament, mixed tournament. So, and the England game must have been against British Airways ladies, was going to take place in the break. So the mixed tournament goes off, and Uri Rennie is out in the field, really, really deep. This guy whacks the ball, and he's about, honestly, he's right down the boundary or whatever it was, takes the ball, threw it about 80 foot in the air to catch it, and hadn't realised it's a no ball. So the guy scored a rounder. So Uri Rennie went on to be a very successful Premier League football manager.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the rivalries between Leicester and Sheffield over those 2 decades have been enormous, but they've also been ones that you look back on with such fond memories, really. You just look back and you think, yeah, we were rivals, but now we still meet up every now and then with various rounders events. But for me, I've put a little note on my homework sheet that it's created this long-term friendship that Kev and I have with Pod and Sylv. Yeah. We go to a place in France in the winter and up until fairly recently, all 4 of us would ski together, and we've done that for years. Yeah. And it's just the sort of other things that it has brought to us.
Yeah.
It hasn't just been about the playing. I mean, it's just a delight.
And we were out shopping. There's an out of town shopping centre in Leicester called Cross Park, and Sylvia and I were there last week, funny enough, and this couple came up to us and said, "Hi Pod, hi Syl," and neither of us knew who they were, but they were from Rounders 30 years ago. This couple, you know, and that's the memory.
And that community, that friendship, and you know, it rings through, doesn't it, from what you're saying, not just in your local area. And obviously you can see you four have a really special friendship, and it's been an absolute joy talking to you about your memories and your involvement and your experiences, but also about that wider community, as you say, around. It's not just sort of in your local area, but it's also in Sheffield and nationally, and probably more worldwide from the games that you've played sort of abroad, but also sort of in Wales and various other internationals.
I mean, the sad thing is that we have never managed to get it onto the Commonwealth platform, because that would have seemed that was Chris Thatcher's aim. You know, that would have seemed the obvious place to develop, like netball has developed in that way. But hey ho, you never know.
Well,
you never know. You never know.
But just reminisce.
Oh, thank you. Oh, there's one last thing going on. What's this?
Oh, hang on. What's still? Oh, she's got the phone.
This is quite old. I did this quite a long time ago.
You might need
lift it up a little bit.
I don't know. I don't know if you can see it, Julia.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah.
Light shining on it. There are so many pictures and memories on that.
Wow.
A lot of that is the England team, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's all of them. It's Little Hill as well.
Oh, wow.
For Little Hill. Yeah. We sort of let me.
that was the Kelly's mixed side that won the nationals that year.
Wow.
Well, you won the national loads of years.
That was umpires at the Don Valley Stadium in Sheffield when we held a tournament there.
Terry Woolland's got those jackets after the.
So lift it up a bit. We can't see the umpires. Got it.
Three in those lovely turquoise jackets.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, absolutely.
They were jackets that they'd had for the officials at the World Student Games at the Don Valley Stadium.
Fabulous.
And being a Yorkshireman, he couldn't turn them down.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Oh, thank you. Thank you for your time. And I'm sure as there's going to be events around the country, it'd be lovely if, you know, you could get involved in some of those, and also sharing your memorabilia and just starting people talking, really, because that's what this is about, is that reminiscing, that history, but also putting a bit of it together so we can tell the story right from where it began.
Okay.
Brilliant.
So thank you very much.
Well done,